Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 74 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. We are hyped, we are happy, and above all else, we are ready to get to recording another banger. How are we feeling, my friend?
I'm a little bit tired. It is a later night recording again. But as always, can't complain. Happy to be here. Got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of experiences to talk about. You know, busy week means busy life, which means busy experiences. So always more things to draw from, a lot of things to learn, a lot of things to preach about. So, yeah, it's been good. But it is a very tiring state that I'm in right now.
Honestly, I love the words can't complain. I feel like it's a very subtle statement, 2 words, but they're 2 words that I find myself saying very often. When people say, or I guess when people ask, hey, Keitha, how are you doing? Most of the time I say, I'm great, I'm happy, life is good. I tend to give a bit of a longer answer than just saying good and walking along. I feel like the mentality nowadays around the how are you doing is there's 2 answers. One is, do you just want me to give the I'm good answer, or do you want me to give you the real answer? Obviously, most people just want the I'm good. But I always make it an effort to answer the question in a bit more detail and say, life is good, I'm happy, things are great. Yeah. Now, that's not me just lying either. I genuinely think that life is good. And most of the time I find myself saying somewhere in that explanation, can't complain, life is good. Can't complain are some of the most powerful words that you could ever use, just because it simultaneously acknowledges that the more effort you put in, things will get better, but also it acknowledges how blessed you are to have the life that you have right now. By saying can't complain, clearly it means that there are some good things in your life that, balance out some of the unfortunate things.
I would say that, yeah, it's like you're content with the bad things.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly, and that's a powerful mindset.
I can't complain because literally I chose to do this and I'm enjoying it. So,
yeah.
And there's a lot of great things that come from it. But on that note, how are you doing?
Again, same thing as you. Busy week, busy life. But I'm a big proponent of busy is good. I think that the worst thing you can do is be sedentary in life, in my opinion.
Worst thing is ridiculous. That's a horrible take. Worst thing you've said.
How is that a horrible take?
You're telling me that, the 80-year-old grandpa is just chilling on his couch and his, last year is just relaxing. It's horror. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. The newborn baby that just sits in his crib all day, that's the worst thing you could do. They could be, throwing nukes down on Yemen. That could be a lot worse. Worst thing you can do.
Okay. You know what? Fair play.
Especially, I don't even think that's that bad of a thing.
Okay, whoa. Let's calm down. That baby in the crib. Get to walking, buddy. You can learn how to walk. You got to turn into that D1 athlete that your dad wants you to be. What are you doing sitting around for, huh? Get after it. Who's going to carry the boats, buddy?
If we were held to that standard, we'd all be horrible people, I think.
I feel like we'd all just be Lionel Messi.
What?
If we were held to the get after it, even in the crib, you better be running.
No, we would all just feel like garbage. In my opinion.
That's low-key a hot take,
Respectfully, I think if we all were held to the highest standard, I think there would be a higher percentage of people that are in the higher standard, but disproportionately, there would be so many more people in a worse state of mind.
So then what would you say to all the content out there that is like, get to work, you don't have time, you need to hustle and work hard?
It works for 1% of people, but it doesn't work for most. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that in mind. So don't get me wrong, I've absorbed that type of content too. But I found that advice and growth it will never be one size fits all, right? So I personally am not a fan of that mindset because when I had it, it ruined my life. It genuinely made me miserable. So
what do you mean? You're going to have to explain that a bit.
Personally, especially in high school, there were times where I really put my head down and I was I want to just focus on school, focus on my grades. I don't want to go out. I don't want to talk to my friends. I don't want to do any of this stuff because it's not important, because all that matters is getting better. And I would only go to the gym by myself. I would only go for runs by myself. I would only do things by myself. And it was probably the worst period of my life. And when I don't want to say the worst period of my life because that's not really necessarily true, because I think the worst period was when I was going downhill. At least I was making myself better, but I was miserable, right? And after it was all done, like, I think I've grown more having done, like, I had that mindset of dedicating all my efforts into this one thing and, like, going after it super hard. But, like, now, even though I still have that dedication, I'm doing it with a smile on my face and I'm going 10 times further, right? Like, if I had the mindset that I have now and the personality, if I was who I am now back then, I would have done everything 10 times better. But that mindset failed me, right? And that's not to say that it is going to fail you, right? There's people that thrive off of it, but I'm not one of those people, right? So to me, if I'm not really doing it with a smile on my face, it's not as worthwhile to me.
Okay.
I find fulfillment in the things that bring me enjoyment.
Okay, I can't really disagree with you there. That's actually a pretty valid point. And I guess you are right. I think the main sentence you said that really resonated with me was that advice is not a one-size-fits-all situation, which is very true. So I think that's a good way to put it. But then does that mean that, now here's my question. You say that, but simultaneously these, I would say past couple of weeks, realistically, you have done nothing but work. Your entire life has been school-related, club-related, nothing but work.
Yeah.
Head down. Literally, half the time I tell you look like Brooke from One Piece because you look like a skeleton because you are so tired and overworked for what you're doing. So tell me, what is the difference between what you did in high school versus what you're doing right now?
I'm doing it with a smile on my face. I'm doing it with friends, and like I have more. It's less about what I'm doing, more about why I'm doing it, right? I have found like purpose and passion with the things that I'm working on. Like for me, like training for like doing case comps, like, and that whole idea of winning is like so fun to me that I don't care that, I'm spending 7 hours out of my Saturday doing it every week, right? Like that doesn't matter to me because I'm having fun doing it. I'm doing it with people I enjoy it with. So like, it's not like I'm head down grinding at school with like tears running down my face because of how much I hate my life, right? I'm sat there talking to friends, working on things together, like it's an enjoyable experience. Growth doesn't need to be painful. I think that it needs to be, I would say it is a little bit painful because like growth doesn't need to be done through sadness though. Like you can still have a smile on your face through the pain, right? You know that feeling of like finishing a run and you're cramping up like hell, but you're like, I'm done, and you feel really happy. Or like even in the moment while running, you might feel happy because you're like, hey, I'm out of the house. Like I feel good right now, even though physically it causes you pain. For me, like, yeah, I feel tired a lot of the time, or I got a lot of things I'm thinking about, but at the end of the day, I got a smile on my face because like I'm having fun doing it. So to wrap up that really, really long answer, the difference between then and now is now I step forward with purpose and passion, whereas back then I had no intention behind my action aside from just the next step, if that makes sense,
Okay. Provide me and everybody else listening at home, give us some context about the things that you've been up to. For example, this weekend, you were not home all of Saturday, pretty much all of Sunday as well. Talk to me. What did you do? What was the journey and struggle that you went through this weekend?
Yeah, so Saturday, I had my mock competition for JDC West. So that's a case competition team that I'm a part of for my school. And that took up the whole day because I got there at 7, and then the mock competition runs until 9. And then after we went out to get some food. But it's basically just doing a case presentation in front of your coaches and some other industry professionals, and then they just give you some feedback and such.
Before you continue, what is a case competition?
So yeah, I've already talked about this on the podcast before.
Have you actually?
So, yeah, before. Definitely.
Oh, okay.
But it's just, for me, I compete in entrepreneurship, so it's a little bit different than other categories, but basically we're given 3 hours and an industry, and you have to pitch a business model for whatever industry you get. So our industry was filming in Saskatchewan. So it's a niche. Like it's like, well, that's because that's where competition was the 2 years ago, and then that's the case that they gave us. But we pitched like a peer-to-peer platform, so like Airbnb, but for filmmakers and small businesses in the area, so that you can find like locations and venues to shoot your films on. And then like we had like a subscription service. It wasn't the best business model, but it wasn't bad. Like I thought it was pretty cool, and we had a great time doing it. But besides the point being, I spent the whole day there, so that was a long and arduous process, and that's just to prepare us for what competition's actually going to be like in January.
And that's just the mock, the practice.
Yeah, and it's very, very serious. Like, they do everything by the book. Like, we had to be completely silent. Like, we're not allowed to talk to anybody while we're being moved from room to room. You're not allowed to speak to any volunteers that are, like, escorting you to, like, the washroom or something. You're not allowed to speak to, like, your friends when you're in, like, this specific room and stuff like that. Like, it's very, very serious. You can only bring clear water bottles. Like, it's insane. You have to ask them permission to open your laptop. Like, when you walk in the room, you have to ask them, like, am I allowed to open my laptop? Am I allowed to plug in my charger? Am I allowed to move this chair? Am I allowed to sit down and open PowerPoint?
Why?
Am I allowed to open Excel? Because, like, they have very strict rules on, like, because they don't want you doing anything that you're not allowed to do, right? So you have to ask for every single thing that you're going to do. Like, you can't make an action without asking to do it. So it's very, very serious. Very, very, very serious.
And that was for the mock too?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Because they want to prepare you. Because, like, also, every single team except 2 got disqualified during mock because they'd done something that they would have gotten disqualified at comp for. So they were like, this is why you need to be very serious because there's so many nuances. Like, one of my friends last year, I believe, when he was competing, he spoke to somebody and they got disqualified because of it. He didn't, because he didn't have the restriction, but they did. And because of that, they got disqualified. I think. I'm not too sure how much truth there is to that, but I was told it. But regardless, very, very serious, and took up basically my entire Saturday. And then for Sunday, I had an event from 12 to 3 in downtown. And then I went straight to the campus because we're doing hiring for one of the other clubs that I'm a part of. So, and then from there, the process finished at 7:30, and then we actually finalized our team later into the night. So I got home around 3 a.m. It's 2:30 to 3. And that's kind of been the routine of coming home really, really late, like leaving earlier in the morning, coming home late. But that's a little bit of context behind the things that I do. I promise you guys I don't just say I'm busy. I do put in a lot of work, and I actually have to buckle down and study for a midterm I've got in a couple of days. So
wait, when's your midterm?
Thursday.
Mine is on Wednesday, bro. We're cooked.
It is brutal, but at the end of the day, a lot of work, but once again, can't complain, man. Can't complain at all.
Man, that's really interesting though. But I guess it's a good story for people to hear, because even though you're super happy about it, you still come back home dead tired.
Yeah.
And do you sometimes question, what the hell am I doing?
I think in my current situation, I don't think so. Only because I don't mind this feeling of being tired. This is the first time in my life where when I come... Actually, no, I would say a lot of the times in my life, I didn't feel fulfillment in the things that I was doing because I never came home like, I'm genuinely like, I'm just done. Like, this is the closest I feel I've ever pushed myself to my limit, you know? Like, I don't believe we ever hit our limit because we're not willing to. Like, even me, I think I could be working harder right now. I choose not to because I don't think it would be the best thing, right? There's other things in my life that I value more than, like, just going 100% all the time. So, or like 100% specifically on like my academic, like my academic progress. But I think that feeling of being tired, of being like when I came home last night and I was like, I have really pushed myself. When I laid down, I slept like a baby. And when I woke up in the morning, I was okay. Like, I was like, you know what, man? I'm happy about the work that I've been putting in. And that's one thing that's really nice, is being able to say you're proud. I think that a lot of the times people find it hard to like work this hard because they think like, oh, I'm going to be so tired at the end of it. I'm going to be so upset with myself, you know, but that feeling of fulfillment of actually like having done this thing that you really cared about, it's really, really nice. Like, it's a surreal feeling to be able to sit down after a long day of genuinely putting in your best effort and just being able to lay there and just be like, I'm done for the night. Beautiful. Sensational, as some might say.
You know what? Can't argue with that. Really cannot argue with that, man. Honestly, one thing that I have really started to focus on is falling in love with the process, which is something that I think everyone talks about, but it's actually really hard to do. When you sit down and break it down, you are talking about enjoying the part where there is realistically no reward. There's a quote that Chris Williamson talked about on his podcast that people cheer for you at 2 points in a race, the very beginning and the very end. Nobody is there for you for the ugly part, the middle, that excruciating period of time where it is nobody but you doing the hard work. Falling in love with the process is enjoying that ugly middle section of anything that you're trying to do, whether it's content creation, whether it's a business model, whether it's an education, whether it's a job, no matter what it is, that middle part sucks a lot of the time. So learning to enjoy that is huge for your mental. And one big thing is our experience with that, I would say, is the podcast. Realistically, one thing that is difficult to do is to sit here, continuously post, and then not see explosive growth, for example, but still saying, this is the process, and more importantly, I enjoy what I do. I like talking to people. I like sitting here, staring into the camera and saying, life is freaking great, guys. Life is amazing. Why are we sitting here being negative? I could sit here and say that all day long with a smile on my face and be happy about it. Why is that? Number one, it's one thing I enjoy. But number two, I think it's the positive impact I know I'm making on somebody's life somewhere. So those little things that you kind of have to almost create. It's realistically a fabrication. I don't get to hear as much feedback from people around the world saying, oh, you changed my life, or oh, this podcast is super, super inspirational. I don't get to hear that a lot, but I still know that somebody out there is thinking that. So those little things along the way make it worthwhile. You know, like that's realistically the best thing I could say about falling in love with the process. And more importantly, if you can enjoy those little things, sitting there at the computer. This is one moment last week that I found really funny. I sat there editing last week's episode, and I'm sitting there for an hour straight, like not moving because my timeline is so thin. I don't have room to procrastinate on editing or else it's not going to go up on time. So I sat there for an hour straight that morning, editing the whole thing. And if you took a time-lapse recording of me editing that episode, you would see that I was smiling for about 70% of the editing. Yes, of course, there's that 30% where I'm locked in, just focusing on making sure I'm getting the cuts right. But the other 70%, I'm sitting there laughing as if I'm watching this episode for the first time, even though damn well I'm the guy who's in the video. I had that conversation, and I'm still laughing about some of the things we talked about. Like when you make a joke or I crack a joke or something stupid happens on the episode, I sit here laughing even as I edit it. I think that's such a beautiful thing to have, just to kind of bring a little sunshine into your life, man. Like there's so many people out there who are so gloomy, and it brings everybody else around them down. The number one secret to being happy in life is to live with so much positivity and just happy feelings in your life as much as possible that you radiate out towards other people, because other people like being around people who make them feel good. So if you feel good internally, because constantly you're thinking, I'm a happy person, life is good, I'm going to keep working to get better too, that mentality is infectious. It radiates to other people. I've had people give me, I would almost call it a review of my friendship. And somebody once said to me, the reason why you get along with so many people is because you're a good person, but the way you talk is infectious. And I remember she said, and I quote, anybody who isn't friends with you is crazy, or couldn't be friends with you is crazy, because you know so much about so many things. You're a very amicable person. So people would be crazy to not be friends with you.
All right, bro.
Okay. Calm down. My point was not to glaze myself, okay?
Seems like it.
Take the personality out of this. Let's just say some random person, okay? Forget that it was me, okay? My point is, you are a direct reflection of your thoughts. If you think happy thoughts and you internalize this positivity, the rest of the people around you can see that too, the way you carry yourself. If you're someone who's just sitting there, stick in the mud, not doing anything and constantly complaining about life, nobody wants to be around that. And like, regardless of whether other people want to be around that, do you want to think that way? Do you want to feel that way all the time? Because I know one person, one person closely, I'd say, actually 2 people closely, who see nothing but the negative in everything. Everything. Like I remember one of my friends, I asked her like a long time ago, and I said, what's your favorite holiday? Was the question I asked them. Do you want to know what their response was?
Halloween.
Even that would have been a better response than saying, I don't have a favorite holiday. Holidays are boring. Are we serious, bro? Why? Why are we like this? And just after that conversation, I was like, the mood is just like, you know? And I was just like,
hating on somebody for not having a favorite holiday.
no, I'm not just hating on someone.
It's very
No.
superficial. I'm not going to
No, it's not. I'm just saying, but the thing is, it would be superficial if that was the first time I met that person or that was just the only conversation I have with them. I know this person. I've been friends with them for a long time. And that's the kind of person they are all the time. No matter what, anytime I say, how are you doing? Their response is, life sucks. Everything is blowing up around me. And it has been blowing up for the past 15 years.
Sounds like they need some help.
Now, don't get me wrong. I've been consistently being that guy who is there. And I will consistently be that guy who is there. I'm not going to be the person who walks out on you when things get tough. That's not my job. But my point is, don't you think that a little bit of positive thinking would change your situation? You sit here with a very, very, what's the word? Ponderous? I don't know if that's actually a word. But a pondering face. What exactly is it that you're thinking about?
I think to me, that's complicated because there's this quote from, or it's like Simon Sinek telling a story about him and his friends, or one of his friends, where he was like, they were out riding bikes, I believe that's what he said. And he was like out of nowhere, he was just like, hey man, you know, you're one of those friends that I would call if I was like really in like the depths of hell. Like if I was in the mud, I'd call you. And then his friend's response wasn't like, oh, like, thanks, man, I really appreciate that. Or like, you know, same to you. He said, I'd be mad if you didn't. And I was like, damn, that's pretty brilliant. In the sense that, like, I place an expectation on myself as a friend to listen to, or to be there for my friends when they're in the mud. And I'm not saying that you're saying, like, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when, on the other side, not from, like, you, but from the people that you're or if this is, like, you're talking about this person, right, who's radiating all the energy to these people, right? I'm saying if you're the person out here and you observe this person in that spot, the last thing I think you should do is walk away or run. I think the first thing you should do is run even faster towards them, right? Because I think that, first off, I think the best friendships are forged in fire, right? You genuinely bond better with people in harder moments than you do in good ones. Like, I remember literally one of my best friends right now in uni, the only reason that, like, she and I are even friends was because I went through something, like, really bad. And she was there, and we just talked about it, and that's how we became super, super close. So, like, respectfully, I think that, like, genuine connection and the realest friends are gonna come for the people who are there for you in, like, the worst times. I do think on a macro scale, radiating positivity is really important because it's going to effectively attract more positive people in your life, and you should always have a positive outlook on your life. But don't be afraid to be real. Like, if you're genuinely in a bad position, right, don't put on the facade of being happy just so that people like you. But don't pretend to be sad either. I think that's something we see a lot of in today's world, of people believing that they need to have problems because everybody else seems to have problems, and they feel left out because it's like, wait, why is everybody else miserable? I'm happy. Like, hold on. Why am I not fitting in? And then people run to the nearest problem they can find. But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent. But long story short, be there for the people that you're, be there for people that need it. And also, if you're a person that needs it, don't be afraid to ask.
100%.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. The radiating positivity mindset here works on two fronts. In one aspect, you are actively improving the people around you because you are providing a positive energy to them. On the other hand, you are actively improving your own life because by being this person who internalizes good energy, you look at things in a much better light.
But do you think that you can really fix, like, problems just by seeing things in a better light?
Well, nobody said that. For example, let's say I'm $100 million in debt. Make it the absolute extreme thing. Like, I am poverty. If I don't make it within the next, 6 months, the bank is going to seize everything I own and it's Jover. Okay? Do you think that I would get out of that situation if I had a very doom and gloom mentality? Not to say that the positive mindset is just going to, make $100 million appear in my bank account. No, of course not. But what's the saying? If you think positively, it doesn't mean that success is guaranteed. But if you don't think positively, it guarantees failure.
I would say, suppose that I die, right? And one
Damn,
of our,
okay, that's a crazy way to start it. Okay.
It's a crazy. Suppose that I'm
Okay.
dead, like I die,
Okay.
and somebody comes up to you. Two people come up to you. One person says, "Don't worry, man, he's in a better place," and the other one says, "What do you need?" Which friend do you prefer?
I don't.
Chat,
okay.
are we seeing this right now? There's no way you're actually, like, there's no way you're conflicted about this.
But I don't know. Like, okay, I'm going to assume that the answer you want me to say is the what do you need friend.
Yeah. Why would it be the other way?
I mean, weren't you the one saying that you should, like, be there for people who, I guess
That's
that is
being there for someone. Saying they're in a better place, respectfully, might be top 5, like, worst condolences. In my genuine opinion. Because, like, that's not what people care about, right? Like, genuinely, first off, it's not something you know to play the pessimist. You don't even know that.
That's
like I would say I want to wholeheartedly believe that, but that doesn't ease my pain. My pain is all the love that I couldn't give them, all the grief that I have, all of the regret that I have for not spending the time best with them.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's
you
say
saying effectively that my presence in their life was so bad that they had to go. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's blasphemous, as some might say.
Okay, but I think the whole point of saying they're in a better place now is not because your presence is bad. It's because the rest of the world, naturally, by living, you are going to suffer. That was the bigger thing.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think that that's a good argument. Like, then why don't I just shoot you right now, put you out of your misery? Right? It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Would you say you're in a better place if you died right now? Like, obviously, we don't know, but I'd probably say that's not the case.
Yeah,
but anyway, the whole point of that question
Whatever. Yes, let's get back to it. Let's say I picked the friend who says, what do you need?
Right. No, not let's say, dude.
Okay,
You
I pick the friend who says, what do you need?
See that, because that friend cares about how you're feeling as opposed to the objective feelings about happiness per se. You know what I mean? Like, when you're in pain, right? You're not always. Sometimes you just want a friend who's going to sit there and listen. You don't want somebody that's going to give you advice. It's because oftentimes we know the things that we need to do, right? Like, respectfully, most people know I need to be more positive to be happy, right? Like, I feel like it's so contradictory if you really think you're going to walk around life with a negative mindset and be happy. Like, come on, guys.
Then why do so many people do it?
Right? Because people aren't looking to be happy. Because they're not genuinely reflective of that, right? Like, that's what I think is that more people need to, like, first off, is deal with your problems. Because when you deal with your problems, that's when you open the lens of happiness. But you can't even open that can of worms until you deal with the issues that you have.
Okay, but do you think that you can realistically deal with them as best as possible when you're sitting here just looking at consistently why you can't do it?
I don't believe that you should reinforce your negative thoughts. Like, I don't think that that's true. But just, I'm kind of reflecting on the stance I'm taking right now, because there's levels to this. Like, on a surface level, right? Yes, every problem should be approached with a positive mindset.
Okay.
But you just shouldn't force yourself to have to smile, right? You should be able to look internally at the good things in your life, be grateful for those things, and then smile because of that. But if you're, like, literally going through the worst period of your life, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to smile, even though I feel like garbage, even if it doesn't work for me, because at least some positivity will be radiating out to people, right? Like, that is kind of scary to me. You know, if you take, like, take Robin Williams, for example. He put out a lot of positivity, a lot of things on suicide prevention, right? And look at what happened.
Yeah, right? That might be like, first of all, that low-key is something that I wish that we talked about more, because I definitely didn't know anything about that situation.
I didn't know much about it either. Like, but regardless, like, there's sometimes like when you're going through things, it's so important to talk about them, like, and not just look for solutions, but to acknowledge them and understand them and then accept them and then move to the solution. So like, I think it's like a 2-step process.
I was just about to say that.
Like,
That's crazy.
Step 1 is that like actual just realizing it. And then step 2 is diving into the beautiful things in life. But long-winded debate over, we're both right. I think we literally just need to split it into 2 steps. Step 1 being that acknowledgement, that understanding of those bad feelings. And then step 2 being the moving into a more positive mindset.
That's so crazy. That was like a perfect yin and yang combination moment. It was like, we're fighting,
like
doesn't make sense.
That were swirling.
Yeah, and then just harmony.
That was beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
That
was
indeed.
cinema.
You know, one of the things I wanted to touch on that you were talking about is like, you know, sometimes people don't start the process. Or about the process, right? Falling in love with the process is, I think sometimes people are so afraid of the process they never even try because they think that they can't love it because it looks so painful, it looks so difficult, and it seems like there's no way I could ever love this. And it takes me to like that quote by Alex Hormozy. I feel like you've probably said it on this podcast. Maybe I have. But the quote is, people wait for perfect conditions to start, but starting is the perfect condition.
I don't think we've ever said that on the podcast.
Have you heard it?
I've heard it, but that's because I like watching Alex Hormozy.
I genuinely I really love that quote. Really nice quote. And it kind of made me think that you just got to try. Like, genuinely, sometimes you just have to go. I've had a lot of conversations in uni because I'm doing a lot of things. Like, and that's not me bragging, because at some points I do wonder whether I made a wise decision because it is a lot on my plate. But obviously I still do it with a smile on my face. But people ask me like, dude, like, how did you like actually do this? And I was like, dude, I just tried. Like, I literally just went for it. I literally just woke up and said, I'm going to go. I'm just going to do it. Like, every single time that I shot an application for the things I wanted for, I didn't sit there and think like, am I really going to be the best for this? I said, nah, just go, just do it, just do it, just do it. And it worked out for me because I didn't second guess myself, right? I genuinely believed that I could do it. And I think that that's something that, you know, you need to internalize, is the just trying method instead of waiting around because 1, you're afraid that it won't work out, or 2, because 2 was going to be you're too scared to try. Same thing. Fear has no place, man. And like, oh my God. Okay. To tie this back, actually, in Home Alone,
that was
I don't remember
crazy,
which movie, but Kevin McAllister says, you know, he's talking to that lady, and I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast before, and he's talking about his rollerblades, and he's like, you know, I got these rollerblades for Christmas when I was like 7 or something, right? Or like 6 maybe. And then he was like, you know, they were so nice, they were so perfect that I didn't want to damage them, so I never wore them outside. I just kept them in their box. Maybe sometimes around the house I rollerbladed, but I never took them outside of the house. And then when I turned 9, like when I grew up, I'm also just like kind of like rambling about it. I don't actually know the exact quoting from the movie, but he's like, but when I really went to take them outside, my feet didn't fit in them anymore, and I had to throw them out. And he was talking to the lady about like a heartbreak and how she's afraid to try at love. And he said, if you aren't going to use your heart, then what's the difference if it gets broken? And I was like, damn.
Home Alone was dropping bangers like that?
I was like, what?
You're lying. There's no way that came from Home Alone. That's crazy.
From Home Alone.
Damn.
I'm 95% sure. But if you aren't going to use your heart, then what's the difference if it gets broken? And I've kind of internalized that there's so many things that we're capable of doing, but we're afraid to try them because we think we might be proven wrong in our capabilities. But what is the worst that could happen, firstly? And second, what's the difference? What's the difference in not knowing and failing? I think there is a difference. The difference is certainty. Because if you fail, it means that you tried, which means that you know. But if you never try, you never know. Giving things a shot is it's the cornerstone of success. If you ain't gonna use it, What's the difference if you fail? What's the difference if it gets broken?
That certainty of failure versus never trying. Do you want to know the only byproduct of never trying?
Failure.
Byproduct of never trying.
Oh, I don't know.
Regret. You'll live your whole life thinking, what would have happened if I had just done it? And I can tell you, I know exactly what it feels like. Exactly what it feels like. War flashback to high school. My life. I'm about to open up like a book and tell you guys the most embarrassing story I have. Well, maybe not the most embarrassing, but definitely an embarrassing story for me. Went to school. Pulled a Sanji. Full on heart eyes for a girl. Okay? Spent like 2 years being super, super close with her. Gave her a Christmas present. Like a very nice Christmas present. It was like this very sentimental snow globe. Okay? So, it was such a W gift. And that was a perfect moment to be like, I like you. I would have rather shot that and then immediately got shot down faster than like a makeshift plane flying through the United States. I would have rather been immediately put down and said, you're the ugliest guy I've ever seen in my life. Rather than to sit there, hand her the gift, say Merry Christmas, and then turn around and walk away with my tail tucked between my legs like I did that day. And do you want to know what that pathway got me? Months upon months of sitting in my room at night when everybody else was sleeping, staring at the ceiling saying, what if? That could have turned into something beautiful. Now, granted, given the current position I'm in, I'm more than happy with how things turned out because now that reflecting on it, I never could have possibly been with that person. But I sat there for months living with the pain of regret. Every night I would sit there and just stare at the ceiling, not even going on my phone, literally just sitting there, sometimes just straight up like being upset with how much of a coward I was. Just sitting there saying, man, I'm going to regret this for a long time, aren't I? And I'm sure that you've had those experiences too, where you sat there and you were too afraid to take a shot on something, where you were too afraid to bet on yourself and to risk that failure. So you gave up before even trying. And then what happens? You just live there and you suffer and you suffer and you suffer. That fear and giving up without trying makes something that would have been a very short-term pain a very slow and painful death. That is the worst thing. Regret is a slow and painful death. I can't put it any other way. Regret is easily the worst emotion that you can feel because it lingers for so long, eating up your insides. It just sucks. It's awful. So this is my PSA. Even if you have no chance, even if you think you're going to get shot down immediately, do it. Go ask. Go try. Go do something. Bet on yourself. Take that risk. Because fear is the biggest made-up governor that we put on ourselves. Fear stops us from trying so many things. Fear could have stopped us from doing this podcast. We would never be here, changing the lives that we have, or spreading this message to people who really need it. And I wonder what this could become in the future. I wonder, because if we keep going at it, who knows where this could go? This could be life-changing, not just for the people who listen, but for us too. And we may never know if we never tried.
You know what I think is funny is in those moments where like I get a second chance to try, right? And I do. Like, and I shoot a shot like the second time around when it comes around. My regret, regardless of how it goes, whether it be good or bad, has always been I wish I had shot it sooner, right? Every single time when I had a chance before, I always think, why didn't I just go for it at that time? Because I sure as hell regret that I didn't do it, you know? So genuinely, the one thing that I keep running back to is sometimes you just got to go for it. Like, you can't continue to try and rationalize every single decision to work out every possible, outcome. To me personally, I'm an overthinker. Like, I'm a massive overthinker. This is something that we've talked about before is I like to look at every single possibility and try and derive what's the most likely. I break it down percentagely. Which one do I think is most likely to happen? What are the 10 next steps that's going to happen after that? And then I realized at step 11, something bad might happen. But I didn't take into account that there's ramifications between every single one of those steps. That the chance of step 11 happening the way I think it would is less than 1%, right? I never take that into account because I'm just trying to look at everything and try and figure out what the best optimal route is. But I think sometimes when you break things down so much and you see every single option, you miss out on what the most obvious answer always is. Like, that's what I've realized is in all the instances where I'm like, I didn't even go for it. It's like, dude, it was so obvious what you needed to do, but you were just too afraid to do it because you were so busy, one, doubting yourself, and two, trying to figure out what the best thing is. Sometimes you just need to have some faith in yourself. Like, genuinely, I think that we don't give ourselves the credit that we deserve. Like, we are some pretty cool people. Like, you are a pretty cool person, whoever you are behind that screen. Have some faith in your abilities. Don't be bound by past mistakes you might have made. Maybe things didn't go the right way last time, but that doesn't mean that they won't this time. What's the difference of not using it if it's going to get Hold on.
Flip it.
Hold on. Guys, give me a second.
What's the difference?
If you aren't going to use it, then what's the difference if it gets broken? Like, respectfully, keep on trying. It's better to have the certainty than the regret.
Yeah. Now, my question to you is, as someone who has started to really conquer their, fear of rejection in applying to all these clubs, doing a bunch of the things that you were afraid to do before.
Yeah.
What is your number one tip to somebody out there who might be facing a difficult decision and is too afraid to take action?
I want to say use the 3-2-1 method, right? Of just going 3-2-1 and just going for it. But I would say that it starts in self-confidence. It starts in believing that you actually deserve some things, right? There's that whole thing I was talking about the other day or last episode. I don't remember who said it, but it's like, how did you know you could do it? I just never thought I couldn't. Have some more faith in yourself and understand that it's okay if things don't work out. I think we put so much pressure on everything to be perfect, on this idea that everything has to work out in the best possible way. There's a fear in things being less than optimal. But we don't get perfect lives. We don't get perfect choices. We don't get perfect outcomes. But what we do get is to make do with what we have. And I've found that, perfection's a little overrated because it isn't real. You constantly chase it and you're left unfulfilled. The only way to, find fulfillment is in the real things. And those things have mistakes. Those things have flaws. Those things are imperfect. So if you're waiting for those perfect conditions, know that they don't exist. If you continue to wait, there will never be a point for you to shoot because you're literally waiting for something that doesn't exist. So rationalize that. That would be my advice. Rationalize the fact that you're waiting on impossibility. And then you'll understand how foolish that action is. So while you're out there, just take the shot. Because rationalizing with impossibility is like waiting for the universe to end. Pointless.
Dude, the shooting analogy actually gave me a perfect idea. Sitting there waiting for the perfect moment is the equivalent to having your rifle pointed at, let's say, a deer if you're hunting. And you keep waiting for the perfect moment, but by the time you're ready to shoot, the deer is gone.
Yeah.
The second the shot is there, you take the shot. The second the opportunity in life presents itself to better oneself or to take a risk on something, you take the risk right away. You don't sit here and wait for the perfect opportunity. Because at that point, it's already gone. And the other thing that Alex Hormozi talks about a lot, which I love, is the exploration of consequences to what you do. So let's say you have a business idea and you're worried about failing, so you don't start. What's going to happen if you fail this business idea? Flesh out that reality a bit more. Let's say you invest 20K into this business, and if it goes under, what's going to happen? Are you going to go bankrupt and are you going to lose everything? Or is this going to be something you can recover from? Let's say you work a job and you're still trying to do this business. Okay, now I have disposable income that, yes, it may set me back a bit if I fail at this business, but I'm not going to crumble and, end up on the streets if this fails. Let's talk about getting rejected by a girl. If I ask this girl out and she says no, what's going to happen? I'm going to feel heartbroken for maybe a couple weeks. Then what? I'm going to move on. I'm going to have bigger problems than the fact that a girl rejected me 3 weeks ago. And at the end of the day, later on, I'm just going to find the right one anyways. If she rejected me, then clearly she wasn't the one for me. So the right one will appear and life will be fine. So fleshing out those consequences is huge for combating fear. Saying, what if? What if I fail? What happens? That is huge. And I think if we can think a bit more, think a step further, really, you'd begin to understand that fear is not real. It's just this imaginary thing your brain is trying to use to stay within the comfort zone. But you're not going to reach new heights if you stay within what you know you can already do.
And just to close this out, because we do have to head to some stuff before the episode ends. But I think that we need to trust ourselves more. There's only so far that preparation can get you, right? You think about everything. You think and think and think about every single possibility. But when one step goes out of place, all the rest of your prep is useless, right? People always say, have you ever seen the thing? It's like when you ask out a girl, they say yes, and it's like, dude, I never thought I'd make it this far, right? Yeah. It's like, now what? It's like, dude, I had no idea. Never would have thought this would happen, right? There's only so much preparation you can do, and that's actually something I found out on Saturday in my JDC mock competition. Was when the night before, I sat up for a little bit, okay. I'm really thinking about it. I'm like, I need to kind of prep. I feel like I should do some research or something. I don't know. What should I be doing right now? And then I realized, I think I just need to have faith that when I step into that room, that me and my team are going to do well, that we're going to put up the best thing that we can. Obviously, you need to prep. But once one thing in your deliberation goes out the window, right, you have to change. You have to adapt. When one thing in your presentation doesn't go the way that you want it to, you have to change. You have to adapt, which is especially difficult for us because our presentation format's very different. But the thing that I found is there's only so much preparation you can do. And what's more important than preparation is trust and faith in yourself that when the time comes, you'll be able to make a decision. I genuinely believe it's much easier to make a decision in the moment than it is to make one before. Because when you're in the moment, you have every factor, right? You know how the other person's feeling. You know how you're feeling. You know the situation. You are living it. But when you're speculating on how you might feel, how they might feel, how every other person might feel, how accurate can you really be? With so many intangible factors that you don't know, how accurate can you truly be on where your assessment is of where you're going to be shooting? But when you're there, that's where you're going to really find the mark and you're going to take the shot, because in that moment, you'll know. For me, the one thing that really got me through those hard things that I just had to jump at was literally putting myself in the position where I didn't have a choice but to. Now, closing that all out, I think that's about time that we talk about some good things that's been happening lately. Pass it off to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our weekly woohoos. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Woohoo! There it
Shout
is.
out.
Okay. That's so funny. You want to know the funniest thing about that? You were just talking about over analyzing all the things. I sat here for a good minute in your last monologue there. I sat there thinking, which button is it?
You uploaded it.
I got it, bro.
You had a 50-50 shot. You know
And
what?
the funniest thing is, out of all the sound effects I could have chosen,
That was the
I picked
worst,
the
man.
crickets.
But you know what, guys? That goes to show. See how he didn't freeze up and not pick anything? Sometimes you got to shoot. Even if you're going to look like a fool like this, man, sometimes you still just got to shoot. But
And
anyway.
look at that. The beauty of it is I messed up. I sat there for a whole minute rationalizing. Which button is it? Which button is it? Which button is it? What if I mess it up? What if I mess it up? And then I messed it up. And now look. What
It's really
happened?
not that hard, dude. It's the last button on the soundboard. This is the easiest button to remember.
But in all rationality, it makes more sense for it to be the one I pressed because I've uploaded a sound to all the other ones and we've never used actually any of them. Some of them for copyright
That
purposes.
made no sense. but
Sorry.
continue.
I've
Just-
uploaded a
just-
sound to all of them, except that in theory is the next one on the list that I should have uploaded to, but I put it to this one instead. Whatever. Point is, I messed up and everything is fine.
Let's continue.
Let's continue. Getting to the good news stories, all right? Number one, for those of you out there who don't like capitalism all that much, this one's for you. Land owned by a billionaire didn't allow access to a national monument. Not anymore. The largest private land conservation project in America took a huge step forward by acquiring a controversial 22,000 acres of property. For reference, 22,000 acres is 16,667 football fields. All right, bro.
Continue.
I knew that was going to happen. But anyways, huge. We're talking a huge scale of land, okay? This land was previously used as a private ranch, and it blocked a 3.8-mile access road to a monument in Montana. The monument in question is the Upper Missouri River Breaks National Monument. Missouri River Breaks National Monument, okay? It's pretty much just a massive river surrounded by plains and these rock cliffs, pretty much. It's beautiful. It's actually what I picture when I picture the word Montana, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That was a good description,
Kinda
no?
get what you mean.
Yeah,
Kinda get what you
like you would see this picture in the house of an 80-year-old man who spent a lot of his life hunting, okay?
mean. Yeah.
That's kind of the way I would describe it. So the billionaire that owned these lands before was lending parts of it out to, leasing it out to livestock owners, pretty much just letting them rent the land for grazing purposes to cows, okay? Now, the American Prairie Reserve is the company or organization responsible for reacquiring this land. And it took some struggle because these billionaires obviously are stubborn. They don't want to sell their asset for no reason. But it is actually a public land that they were on. They were technically owning a piece of public land that prevented access to this river, and the billionaires didn't let people through. So this American Prairie Conservation Reserve, they bought the land, made it accessible to the public, and on top of that, they maintained those lease agreements with the farmers who were using those lands for grazing purposes. So now this conservation group gets to retain the revenue from that and use it to buy more land and make it more accessible to the public and continue to further conservation efforts. Huge news story. And on top of that, so far, they've freed up 603,657 acres. So 600,000 acres of land have been freed up through this process. Crazy. And on top of that, nobody likes a billionaire owning the public land. So here we are. Good news story for you guys today. Giving back to the people. Now, story number 2, and this one hits close to home. The Fraser River with a massive return on investment. Okay? The Fraser River is the largest river in British Columbia, both in length and also in watershed amount. Okay? The Fraser River is home to so many different fish. I think it's 5 different types of salmon, white sturgeon, trout, you name it, the Fraser River probably has it. Okay? This year's salmon run brought in, guess how many fish? Sorry, guess how many sockeye salmon in particular?
Like 55 at least.
He's right, ladies and gentlemen, 55 at least.
At minimum.
This year's sockeye salmon run brought in a whopping 6.3 million salmon.
There's no way there's 6 million salmon in there.
6.3 million salmon. For reference, the prediction for this year was 2.3 million. And last year was only 473,000.
Are we gonna get overrun by fish next year then? Is it gonna be like
No,
20
bro,
million
there's
fish?
so many hungry mouths to feed, okay?
That's true.
Plenty of mouths to feed. Us and
Does
all
that
the
mean that
bears.
salmon prices are going down? Go check out Costco, guys.
That actually might be a good point.
Yeah.
But the point is, huge amounts of salmon revitalizing the population, okay? And this has actually been credited to the removal of these open net pen fish farms, which is pretty much just plopping down a cage in the middle of a giant body of water and farming fish in there. The problem is all their waste and contaminants just get flushed down the river into the outside, and any medicine and stuff that the farmers use gets sprinkled in there. So these have slowly been starting to be taken down by mainly First Nations people, actually, and conservation efforts like it was Fisheries and Oceans Canada, actually, a organized body in the Canadian government. So these people have worked really hard to replenish salmon stocks. And this year, you see a massive return on those efforts. And things are only going to keep getting better because they're not even, what's the word? They're happy, but they're not satisfied. They're going to keep moving forward. They're going to keep pushing these conservation efforts. And it is nice to hear such a positive story about the beautiful country and the beautiful province we live in. Shout out Canada.
Shout out Canada, indeed.
Shout out Canada.
Shout out Canada, indeed.
And with that, my friend, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking around to the very end of episode 74.
74.
74 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. But before you guys go, you already know what time it is. It's time for Quote
Of
the
Week.
Herm.
Quote of the Week. Many people say we only live once, but in my eyes, that is wrong. The truth is, we die only once, but we live every single day. And this quote I just happened to find on Instagram.
Wow.
But the beauty of that quote is, yes, of course, you only get to live this life once if you look at it in all of eternity. But if you break it down into its singular units, living it day by day, you get a refresh on time every single day when you wake up. Why not you? Why not take that risk? Why not try something so insane and run towards your dreams when you get to do this over and over and over again every single day? Look at every day as a new opportunity to grow, rather than sitting here in fear and letting that paralyze you. Continue to enjoy every day and run towards your dreams without the paralyzation of fear.
I think you summed that up perfectly. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much once again for sticking around to the very end of episode 74 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. It truly means the world that you guys are willing to listen to us for this long. Now understand that you need to have some faith. Have some confidence that when you try, things will work out. That starting is the perfect condition. That you can wait and try to rationalize the perfect condition. But that's the equivalent of rationalizing impossibility. Instead, understand that we don't get perfect times, but rather we get chances. We get opportunities to shoot. Don't miss those opportunities and hit your mark. But above all else, make sure you live a positive life, y'all. Peace out.